Hey everyone, Michelle Seidling here with another episode of Food Experience Unplugged. Today we'll explore how to optimize your immune system for antiviral protection and avoiding the dreaded ABCs of aging: arthritis, brain drain, and cancer. Here to help us do that is Marie Ruggles. Marie is the author of Optimize Your Immune System: Create Health and Resilience with the Kitchen Pharmacy, a 2021 Reader's Choice award-winning book. Marie started her career in research at Columbia University, where she earned a degree in nutrition and public health. Marie drills down the science into simple actions to help busy people stay healthy and age gracefully. She scours the market for the best food, supplement, and kitchen pharmacy products that simplify healthy living. In her telehealth private practice, Marie specializes in bringing relief and restoring normal activity for people with arthritis. Please help me welcome Marie Ruggles. This podcast is available on multiple platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and others. Please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to be informed as new episodes become available. If you enjoyed today's episode or any of our episodes, please rate and review the podcast on your favorite platform. As always, check out our website at foodexperienceunplugged.com for some resources as you begin your health journey. Marie Ruggles, welcome to Food Experience Unplugged.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. Well, we're excited to have you as an immunity expert. Yeah,
Right.
very much needed in our society and in health overall. So we're interested to dive right in here. But first, will you take a moment to introduce yourself and what brought you to this point in your life and career? Why the direction of immunity?
Okay, sure. Well, I've been diving into the immune research for about 20 years now, and taking care of your immune system is really the secret sauce to health and aging health in a healthy way. But I had my own immune experience about 20 years ago. I had contracted a virus and didn't have any fancy name that will go down in history. It was just something that was circulating in the neighborhood. And it really took me to my knees. I wound up with many post viral symptoms that were persistent. And this is what's being called long hauler syndrome now as it relates to COVID. But this has been around for 20 or 30 years, post viral syndrome. There are millions of people walking around with this. And thank God I was able to heal myself substantially. And that took diving into the wellness, not just nutrition, but wellness research in general. And so I really encourage people to prevent all viral infections because you never know what you're going to be left with. If you could think about that last day when you were sick recently, that day where you want to stay in your pajamas and just kind of, take one more day to, get your energy back. I was actually in that day for about 10 years. And at that point is when I really started to dig deep into, how can I heal myself? Because no one else is able to help me. The doctors were dumbfounded, and it actually became fairly depressing. But I knew I had very strong symptoms of memory loss and muscle spasms and weakness, and my eyesight started to deteriorate. And then, of course, all that affects your mood. And so, now we're coming into the flu and viral season, colds, and I believe that all of them should be prevented at every cost. And it's definitely very doable. So that's one of the things that I focus my work on. I've been teaching winter wellness workshops for years. And then about 2 years ago, I decided that this really needs to be put into a book format so that everyone has access to the information. And that's why I wrote Optimize Your Immune System. It's just the basic steps that one can take to strengthen their immune system. And then the reinforcements that you can take when you're feeling, under the weather. And then with the rest of my work, I have the telehealth private practice where I specialize in arthritis and diabetes. And those are both also very closely related to the immune system.
Okay, wow. So that was a long time to have to be debilitated almost to with that virus. 10 years, you said?
10
Wow.
years, I felt like I was in that last day of recovery. And, at the
Mhm.
time I was working and I had two small children. So there wasn't a lot of time or energy to take care of myself because 10 years is a long time. I think it would have been shorter if I didn't have other responsibilities, but also the wellness literature has really expanded in this time frame. So I
Mm,
feel like I was almost blessed to have this in the right place at the right time because it's enabled me to really help other people. When I talk about feeling better, what I'm really speaking of is what's going on in your cells and how can we use food as medicine as our first line of defense? But what else do we need? Do we need a few targeted supplements? Do we need to do some DNA testing? Or is it simple stuff like let's take a walk out in the sun every day so we sleep better?
mm.
So it was a long journey, and I'm still on it. I still have some residual symptoms, but basically, just so fortunate to really have come so far and to be able to speak this message that it's not normal to get a cold or sick 2 or 3 times a year. It's not normal at all, and most every viral infection can be prevented.
Okay.
So,
Wow. That is amazing how you just delved into the research and through the advancements of that research you were able to heal yourself to a degree with, notwithstanding the residual effects. But that is amazing. And now you're paying it forward to help so many other people.
that's my mission. Yeah, people really need to know that the power is in prevention. And people call me the kitchen pharmacist. That's what I've become known as. And it's all about just having a little spot. Mine is literally in between my soup plates and my dinner dishes with a few items like teas and supplements that you can grab because when you start to have a virus come on, there's no time to figure out what you need. There's no time to shop because as soon as that virus starts to replicate, you need to go to action to neutralize it. And we have compounds and nutrients, like vitamin C, for example, zinc, that can do that very effectively.
Okay. So you have an area there in your kitchen. So, but there are certain staples. Are there that you keep on hand or encourage your clients to do so?
Yes, well, I often speak in terms of the three phases of immunity. And the first step is really to ask yourself, do I even think about my immune system? Most of us have umbrella policies for our homes and stuff that we own, but your immune system is actually the umbrella policy of prevention for your body from head to toe. So that's the first piece of this, mission is do I even think about caring for this system, which really needs daily upkeep? And that's about how you eat, perhaps having a whole foods diet, um, staying away from chemicals in your personal products and food. So, as much organic as possible, and then getting enough sleep and exercise and managing emotional distress. So, that's the everyday piece. And then, in terms of the items, a good kitchen pharmacy, just the minimal products would be vitamin C, uh, zinc and D. I actually recommend taking every day. So we could kind of include them in there, but they should really be sort of on the shelf with your daily multiple vitamin. And then I like to have a comprehensive immune support formula. So I happen to like a product called Wellness Formula. My Source Naturals is very good, but there are others. Elderberry is another, absolute necessity for any kitchen pharmacy. And I love Gaia Herbs makes a few great products. I happen to like their powder that can be made into a drink because it also includes mushrooms and other immune supportive compounds. So those are a few of the key items. And then, of course, you can have a tea, for example, bronchial wellness tea is a nice blend that supports lung function. So, and then some superfoods as well.
Okay. So these go above and beyond a typical multivitamin.
Absolutely. So in phase one, that's your daily care, and what we spoke about, the whole foods diet. And then phase two and three are really about bringing on reinforcements when you need them. So phase two is exposure. That means you've been near an unhealthy person, which is something that we might have going on quite frequently right now. We really don't know. But you could be near somebody who's well, but they're shedding a virus because they're only at the beginning stage of the viral replication. It's actually masked viral replication that leads to sickness. So phase two is exposure. And if you are with somebody and then the next day you find out that they were sick, that means you've been exposed. And this is really the secret sauce, is to cover yourself right at potential exposure. So if there's something going around the community at any time of year and you've been out in a crowd, you've been at the gym, you've had a family gathering, a work meeting with, small room with 20 people packed in. These are all really situations of potential exposure. And so at that point, you can start bringing on some reinforcements. For example, vitamin C, maybe 500 milligrams 4 times a day, once at each meal, and then at bedtime. And that's a good time to also take a dose of elderberry. Now, elderberry comes in many forms, so you would follow whatever the label directions are. And then phase three is you're starting to feel under the weather. You know the signs of when something is coming on. You're pretty sure you're there. Don't just sit and wait and hope for it to go away. This is the time to now up your game. So you're going to take vitamin C, maybe 200 milligrams every 2 hours. Start drinking green tea. Green tea is actually an antiviral. Not to mention, the numerous other benefits from green tea. Um, Hopefully, your vitamin D is up to par, which would be at least 60 on your lab test. But if it's not, you would want to bring on some vitamin D, perhaps some extra zinc, about 25 milligrams a day. And then you want to eat more vitamin A foods, so richly colored yellow or orange foods, because that really helps your first line of defense. That's the membranes in your nose and throat to neutralize viruses. So there are so many things you can do. You can add on some extra superfoods. And a couple of my favorite superfoods are bone broth. Now, bone marrow is actually where our immune cells are made. So when you drink bone broth, you're getting the ingredients to make more immune cells. Mushrooms have thousands of studies showing their antimicrobial immune strengthening properties. So I recommend eating mushrooms twice a week. And the way to make that easy is to just cook once, but then have enough for leftovers. And then another really easy superfood to take is nutritional yeast. It's popular now because a lot of people use it as a cheese substitute if they're avoiding dairy. But you could just put some into a spice shaker and add it to any food. And if you feel like something is coming on, you would want to have about 1 teaspoon a day and just use it basically as a spice. And it's a great source of B vitamins, but again, tons of research showing its antiviral compounds. So the idea that you can bring on reinforcements is so powerful because there's no reason to sit and wait. And I really like to talk a lot about replacing fear with information.
I
And
love that.
just embracing the concept that you can be so much more in charge of your health than you realize, because your health really starts when your feet hit the floor in the morning. Does that make sense?
It
Um,
does.
what's
I
your plan? Are you going to get outside? Are you going to get any exercise? What's the breakfast plan? I like to start my day with a raw vegetable right along with breakfast. So these mini peppers that have become very popular, you see them in bags in a variety of colors. Kiwi, strawberries are all high in vitamin C. So why not start out your day with a vitamin C source? And starting your day with a vegetable is really the only way to get enough vegetables in, anyhow. So it's just about a proactive mindset. Prevention essentially is a lifestyle.
okay. Now, how proactive or non such are people in general? Just does it depend on their situation? Is it a question of replacing that fear with the information? What has been your experience?
Yeah, Michelle, I find that there's really three distinct groups here. One is the group of people who just don't know. They've grown dependent on a medical system for their care. And again, care starts at home. Then there are the people who are really diving into living naturally, trying to, change what they're eating, their lifestyle. But some of the information can get confusing. And so that's the third group, is people who really are health literate and savvy, but it's hard to put the information together, which is why I developed the 3 action steps. Because, okay, so there's the daily stuff, but then phase 2 and phase 3 make it very clear. Simple action steps for exposure and a few extra steps for that time where you think you're starting to come down with something. So it gives you a framework for having impact. It's about, okay, I have the stuff on hand. I have some dosing guidelines. Well, I don't have this, but I have that in the house. I can do this. So I do think that in general, the population is starting to move towards a place of realizing that we need to really take charge of our bodies and to be our own first responders. I'm not saying to not use the medical system, but this is about everyday wellness. And it has so much to do with food and lifestyle, and then having an inventory of natural wellness options right at your fingertips. And I didn't have that before I entered this phase, and now I feel so much more calm, confident, in control, because I have a little inventory of wellness options for myself, for my family. And typically, when something comes up within the realm of everyday wellness challenges, I have something to take care of it. I'm also in the process of becoming a certified aromatherapist. I've used essential oils for years, and that's another piece of my arsenal for everyday wellness challenges. And they're actually amazing for immune support.
Sure. And that sounds like, that along with your 3 steps addresses many different types of concerns. Those who may not necessarily be as savvy with the literature, all the way to those who really delve in and want to know and want to make those changes. So those steps seem to address all of those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, because if you think of your everyday wellness challenges, what are they? Sleep, nervous tension, or other types of emotional distress, um, immune challenges, joint aches and pains, headaches, tummy aches. these are things that we have natural remedies for. So there are so many foods and spices and natural wellness options that you can just have right at your fingertips and take care of something instantly. And when I say the power is in prevention, when you start to take care of something at home, it it gets better
Mhm.
most of the time. If you don't, it escalates. And then that's where you really wind up with suffering. Days lost from work or play, needing to stay in bed, enduring some type of pain. And so often you can use the natural solutions and a situation is taken care of instead of escalating to something deeper.
Sure, absolutely. Now, that's an excellent segue into your other area of expertise is the ABCs of aging. So will you tell us about that and how that can be used, I guess, in conjunction with the other the antiviral and the processes that you have in place?
Yeah. So the ABCs of aging are really the dreaded ABCs: arthritis, brain drain, and cancer. And with the B's, we can also add in blood sugar issues because everyone, before they have diabetes, starts out with pre-diabetes, and that's really the time to take action. And there's just so much you can do. That's why I specialize in my telehealth with arthritis and diabetes because they really are, in many cases, situations of nutritional deficiency because our cells need the nutrients in order to do their job. But all of this ties into the immune system. And so by taking care of your umbrella health immune system, you're either going to prevent or not get these other conditions. And I like to keep it realistic, but why not prevent arthritis in your 50s or delay it until you're 80? And I have my own healing story with arthritis as well. I started to get arthritis 20 years ago.
Wow.
And I reversed it primarily with food as medicine and with a small amount of supplementation just to keep my inflammation in check. And now, could you imagine if 20 years ago if that continued to escalate where I would be now? And
Mm,
instead, after embracing self care, now I just have an occasional reminder from my right hip that I need to stay in the game. So it's kind of still there, just enough to remind me. So I still have the genetic propensity, but you can use food and nutrients to change the direction of what you are genetically programmed, the direction you're genetically programmed to go in. You can use food to stop that process and even reverse it. And genetic testing has just become so far, and it's not as expensive as it even was 3 years ago. It's come a long way, and that's a really, really exciting area where you can take a look at what's going on in your genes and what food you can use to reverse the process.
okay.
So, and I do think that there are a lot of seniors who are interested in embracing the healthy senior mindset. We want to be active, we want to be energetic. There are things we have to do, grandchildren to babysit, travel. We're not going to sit in our chairs and just go down that road. There are a lot of senior communities now that have, wellness programs because this is really of interest to a lot of people in 60s and up. But that wellness starts when you're in your 40s. That's when you want to start thinking about and acting on how you're going to look when you're and feel when you're 70. But it's
Mm,
never too late to start. As a matter of fact, the immune system cells turn over every 100 days.
mm,
So as we're
okay.
sitting here, our immune cells are turning over. So at your next meal or snack, you have an opportunity to change your own trajectory. That's
Mm.
pretty exciting.
Yes, definitely. You wouldn't think that just with that turnover that each meal contributes to your health or
Yeah,
contributes that dramatically, I should say.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So the ABCs, so arthritis, brain drain, and cancer. Now, how are they? So, if I understand you correctly, your antiviral um, regimen, so to speak, is associated with the ABCs.
Right. So if you take a look at phase one, which is the daily immune strengthening and care, and there's the lifestyle piece that I mentioned earlier, the mood management, sleep, and activity. So there's tremendous research on the preventive health aspects of those. And then when you're eating a clean whole foods diet, you're you're setting up the whole immune system. So that's for antiviral protection, but it's also for disease prevention as well. So you're creating tissues and cells that are going to be more resilient. For example, most of us have cancer cells floating around in our body on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Most people don't know that, but our immune system is taking them down. So that's a well functioning immune system. It's doing its job 24/7. So that's how this daily strengthening and care silently is working to prevent cancer.
Okay.
Um, and then with brain drain, the brain is very nutrient hungry. It needs to be fed, and with that, Whole Foods is really a lifestyle. You're bringing in some of those compounds that affect the genetic pathways
Mhm.
that enhance brain health and block the degenerative pathways. This is
Okay.
especially true. I encourage really generous uses of spices. Turmeric is amazing. I think at this point there are about 18,000 studies on turmeric. It's a very powerful anti inflammatory, and that's a product I recommend taking every day. Now, a lot of nutrition practitioners take what we consider the equivalent of a multivitamin, except it's an herbal product. So it's our daily multi herbal. And the one I like is Botanical Treasures by Natura Health Products, and that has a good amount of turmeric in it, and it's well absorbed. If you're using turmeric at home in cooking, you'll want to try to warm it up, have it with pepper and oil. So, an easy way to do two of those with pepper and oil is to add a teaspoon or two of turmeric to your salad dressing. So hopefully you're having a homemade salad dressing. You could use a packet of, let's say, Italian powdered salad dressing. That's just a way to make sure you're using your own oil, your extra virgin olive oil, which is essential for every cell in the body. And then you could put the turmeric in there, mix it up, and have a large salad every day. So that's one way of guaranteeing that you're going to get some turmeric every day. Now that we're headed into the cooler months, having a golden milk drink, which is, let's say, unsweetened almond milk with turmeric and a little coconut oil. You could put a little pepper in there to help it be absorbed. Another great warming way. And then you get all three. A little pepper, and actually the pepper tastes pretty good. You could balance that with some honey. It's warm, and if you put a little coconut oil, you get the fat that helps it to be absorbed. So, berries every day, really incredible for everything, the joints, the brain health, cancer prevention. So, you could really, this food as medicine concept, it's not just a theory, it is very, very well founded and grounded in the research at this point.
That is amazing. Just
Yeah.
just those simple things can have those dramatic effects. Now, do you have any besides your own success story of uh, overcoming your virus and learning more? Do you have success stories that you could share, perhaps, of those with whom you've worked who have kind of made this transformation, so to speak, and really focused
Sure.
on those ABCs?
Yeah. So arthritis stories are my number one success stories because you feel achy joints. So you know when you're better. You don't really feel prevention, but arthritis, you can actually feel better within 10 days because your joints ache. And so I do a lot of work with people who are in the early stages of arthritis. Some people as early as 40 are starting with those aches and pains, some due to genetics, poor lifestyle, some from previous years of athletic training or just overdoing it in the gym. And so, if you have these arthritis, the beginnings of arthritis, aches, and pains, you can start using the anti inflammatories in food and nutrients. And what that does, and I've had this, I recently worked with a 42-year-old woman who had also a lot going on in her hands and her hips. Arthritis often starts in the hands. And within a matter of days, she felt relief. And that's because the nutrients that we take as targeted supplementation, for example, an omega-3, goes to work immediately to bring down the inflammation. And whenever you have pain, you have inflammation. And then, so she had immediate relief. And then we worked together for about another 5 months so that she could actually move into reversal, because that's my goal. If somebody is in the early stages, I want them to not even know they have arthritis. I want it to disappear. And within 6 months, she was, I would say, about 90% free of all of the aches and pains and related symptoms. She also had a fatigue going on, which is a common side effect of arthritis. The fatigue was completely gone, and about 90% clearance of the aches. And sometimes I think, like with my own story, I still have those occasional reminders in my hip. And it's good to have those because it helps to keep you on track. It's a reminder you can still do everything you want to do at this point. You're completely up and mobile, but it's a reminder that your body has a tendency to go in this direction. And so you still need to be committed to your program. And I like that because it's just human behavior that when we feel better, sometimes we say, okay, I'm done with this. And then we find out that our program was really meant to be lifelong. So that's why I say, prevention is a lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And then I also had another recent case with another young female. She was in her early 50s and she had prediabetes and was told by her doctor that she was going to be put on medication. And she said, just give me a couple of months, I'm going to work on this. And I love that mentality when someone comes to me and they say, I chose to be proactive instead of going directly to medication. And this was a person who was very close from sliding over from prediabetes to actual diabetes. And she engaged, we used baby steps. She was very busy, very overwhelmed. And I just said, look, we're going to work in baby steps, one thing at a time. Let's make this easy. Let's make it doable. And honestly, that's kind of the lifestyle that a lot of people who come to me are in, fairly overwhelmed. And so she was able to use the baby steps. We used the critical ones first that I thought would make the biggest difference. She was monitoring her blood sugar every day, and she came into normal blood sugar range. Her doctor couldn't believe it.
Wow.
He had never seen it. And I love to show people in the medical profession that people can take charge of their health.
Yes.
And that they should really encourage that first before going to medication all the time. Sometimes it's necessary. Depends, where you are in the stage. And she lost a few pounds, and that wasn't our primary focus of the treatment. But if you follow a wellness lifestyle, you're going to drop pounds if that's something that's needed, because whole foods diet is just more satisfying, it's more filling, and the cravings will decrease.
Sure. Wow, that is amazing with both of your examples, and just a lot of it's a mindset is I'm going to take better care of my health and really
Oh, that's so
focus on that.
important. Mindset is such a key term, and that is where it begins. Yeah. And yeah, the
Sure.
funny thing about mindset is that we can't give someone a mindset, but I
Mhm.
feel if someone isn't, I've seen if someone isn't fully engaged and they do something little and they see, oh, I can do this and I can get results, it can actually affect a positive mindset.
Mm, absolutely. Now, what are some first steps if someone's just getting started in this process? What do you recommend to kind of get them oriented and really get off the ground with really being proactive with the antiviral and as well as the ABCs?
So the first thing I might look at are the nutrients because we know that there are six nutrients that are essential for immune cell function. The immune cells actually have receptors. These are kind of like parking spots around each cell that are specific for these six nutrients. So we want to make sure people have enough vitamin D. And on my website, I actually have a free vitamin D guide. It talks about how much you need, how to talk to your practitioner about testing, um, how to a link to calculate your vitamin D dose based on your lab work, and then some of the brands that I like. I always like to start with my ideal brand, but then I give ideas for less expensive items and what you can do to round them out. So getting your vitamin D to a minimum of 60 nanograms per milliliter. You could also, if you live in the Sunshine State, you can get out in the sun for 15 minutes 3 times a week. For the average person, that will do it. Vitamin C, vitamin A. C, you need to supplement. There's nobody I know who gets enough vitamin C through food. So 500 milligrams a day is perfect, divided between 2 meals. 250 at lunch, 250 at dinner. Vitamin A you can get through foods. And then the essential immune minerals are magnesium, zinc, and selenium. Now, magnesium, uh, there are a lot of magnesium, there's a lot of magnesium in nuts and seeds, but most people also need to supplement. Selenium, you can get enough selenium from one Brazil nut a day. Sardines are also a great source of selenium and the anti-inflammatory omega 3 fats.
Mhm.
And then, so that was zinc, magnesium, and selenium. So those are the six.
Okay.
So that would be the first step. And I actually recommend always trying to get most of your nutrients from food. So that would mean looking at what the guidelines are for a whole foods diet. I have a guide with a simple tracking system on my website
Okay.
that will fill in most nutrient gaps. And then the other thing that I like to address right off the top is someone's emotional state. For me
Okay.
personally, I very rarely get sick, but if I look back when I have succumbed, it is because my emotions were really being tested to the max. And this is part of life. We have grief. We have situations of, perhaps short-term intense stress.
Mhm.
But I'm talking more about your daily state of mind. How grounded are you? How depressed are you? This is a big issue right now. And we know that isolation derails the immune system. So
Mhm.
our feelings and our emotions have a physiological impact on our immune system. So if you are chronically sad, I am a huge proponent of therapy. My a therapist that I refer to said to me just about 2 weeks ago. She said therapy is really like primary care.
Mhm.
Therapists are primary care practitioners. Really, everyone should have someone that they speak to. You don't have to speak to them all the time. Um, but somebody who's there who you know you can connect with. And then
Absolutely.
the
Wow.
next is, let's look at that whole foods diet and how are we going to do this? And one of the most powerful things you can do is to change up your oils
Mm,
because our membranes are made up, our cell membranes are made of fats and oils. So your cells are made up of what you eat. And so you need a mix of healthy fats. So it's mostly extra virgin olive oil,
mhm.
and then a little bit of saturated fat, which you can get from, preferably a pasture raised butter or ghee. Coconut oil is also great, wonderful for the brain. One of my favorite products I discovered about a year or two ago is made by Nutiva, and it's all natural, butter flavored coconut oil.
Mm,
It's
interesting.
really delicious. If you're cooking, let's say you're making broccoli tonight, saute some garlic and ginger, onions in the coconut oil, and then throw that on top of the broccoli. And you would think you were eating in a five-star restaurant. If you want to eat more vegetables, try that mix. It's really flavorful, packed with nutrients. And so, and another great way is if you eat fish, is your sardines or salmon to get some of the omega 3s in. So
Okay.
that would be an important first step. The other, if I could add on just one more, I know you probably didn't know there were so many first steps, but these are things that really just have so much punch. Green leafy vegetables every day.
Mm,
If you are
definitely.
concerned about nutrient gaps in your diet, have a large green leafy salad or saute some baby kale every day. And
Mm,
I would have to say, when I look at my own diet, that's something I do almost every day. So I'm not talking about perfection here. This is what we aim for.
okay.
And the green leafy, there are a lot of different ways to get those in. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write a post on it in the next couple of weeks. You'll find it on my Facebook, well, on my website or my Facebook page, which is Everyday Wellness Tools.
Okay.
Greens are just, incredible. And
Mm,
there's more, but I'll leave it at that because I know it's a lot for first steps.
sure. Oh my goodness, that is amazing. So much information and so many simple things that people can start with. So, on that note, Marie, how can people get in contact with you?
The best way to reach me is through my website, marieruggles.com, and that's Marie, Ruggles, as in Sam.com. And then on my Facebook page, which is the Everyday Wellness Tools.
Okay, fantastic. And we will include all of those in the show notes. Marie, it has been amazing to just really an eye opener at so many things and so many options that people have to get started on their health, regardless of their situation. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was wonderful being here. And thank you really so much for the work that you're doing, encouraging people so that each can be well, walk in their purpose, and just really enjoy life to the fullest.